Here on the Colour of Country Life at Flow FM, great to be joined by Australia's Chief Veterinary Officer, Dr. Mark Shipp. Doctor, how are you today?
Very good, thank you.
And you're getting a visit from an official from, I guess, the United Nations instruments in the form of the World Organisation for Animal Health. I think she's over at a conference in Singapore. Why is it so important we're getting this visit?
So it's the first visit of Dr. Monique, the Director General of the World Organisation for Animal Health, to Australia. And that organisation sets the international standards for trade in animals and animal products. And obviously that's very important to Australia as we export 70% of animals and animal products. And it also sets the biosecurity standards and obviously to protect Australia's wildlife and Australia's farming and agriculture, the biosecurity standards are equally as important as the trading standards.
And there's a number of diseases it's important to keep our certification that we are free of those diseases. Front of mind for a lot of our listeners has been foot and mouth disease. What are the category of diseases that we need to keep for trading status?
So the organisation monitors over 200 diseases. There's more than 100 that we need to report our status on regularly, but there are 6 diseases that have got a particular status and that where countries are recognised as attaining freedom or disease-free status. And Australia is one of the few countries that has that highest status for all 6 diseases.
And when it comes to animal welfare in general, I know that that's a hot topic at the local level as well, sometimes when it comes to traceability and the like. How important is it that Australia is a leader in good animal welfare standards?
So the organisation also sets standards for animal welfare, and it was those standards that were adopted by us when we established the standards for export of live animals and the slaughter of live animals in our abattoirs. So it's very important that we are able to influence those standards so that they reflect good practice in Australia, but then that we adopt those standards and are able to trade on the basis that we're using internationally accepted animal welfare standards.
Yes, so I guess, are you saying, to sort of paraphrase, that it's important Australia is part of that conversation so that I guess it's something that reflects what's practical and achievable and also, top standard animal welfare for Australian conditions?
Absolutely, yes. That it's important that we influence the standards so that they don't put in place standards that we can't comply with or that are unreasonable, but also that when those standards are adopted, that we follow those and are able to trade on that basis.
When it comes to foot and mouth disease, I believe I think you were in Indonesia, as were some of the deputy veterinary officers, to help with combating the foot and mouth disease there. It's important to have that international collaboration, not just in our own interest, but in an animal welfare context as well.
Yes, so we've been offering and continue to offer support to Indonesia and to our near neighbours in their responses to these disease incursions. So Indonesia is currently combating the foot and mouth disease outbreak and lumpy skin disease outbreak. I have been in correspondence with my counterpart there this week, again offering further support so that they're able to get those diseases under control, which is obviously to their benefit, but also to Australia's benefit.
There's a couple of others I just wanted to touch on that are affecting our broadcast areas or of interest to our farmers. First of all, varroa mite. Has the federal government had a role or the agency in relation to that, or has it been principally something the New South Wales government's had to deal with coming out of the northern part of the state?
So the on-the-ground response is managed by New South Wales, but the overall national response is managed by the federal government, the Commonwealth government, who coordinate the response, provide additional resources, initial funding for the response, and reporting. So that this is one of the diseases that we need to report on internationally so that we can assure trading partners of our health status.
And lastly, Japanese encephalitis has been one that's sort of found its way over by natural causes into the country and finding its way further south than ever before. Is there a role your organisation's got in combating or containing that spread?
Very, very much so. Early this year, we saw the spread of Japanese encephalitis into southern Australia, a disease that hadn't been present previously. It was present in 4 states and affected a large number of piggeries and unfortunately infected a number of people as well. So the Commonwealth provided $10 million towards that response and provided coordination. We're now looking at whether we can import vaccines to treat pigs and horses, but also whether we can develop vaccines locally within Australia. So we're supporting those development efforts also.
I guess, does that highlight some of those diseases we've talked about today with the increased international freight, online shopping and the like, and international trade? There isn't more important than ever that we have good biosecurity standards.
Absolutely, and that's the reason that we have the detector dogs working not only at airports but at mail centres, and we continue to find large volumes of illegal meat products being imported through the mail and parcel service, but also by passengers, and that's very disappointing because we regularly find foot-and-mouth disease and African swine fever viruses, or at least virus fragments in those products.
Well, that's been great to get that update from you, Chief Veterinary Officer for Australia, Dr. Mark Shipp, and keep up the good efforts because our farmers really appreciate being kept free of these diseases.
Thank you very much.